Cheers was a TV staple in homes all across the country and really all around the world.
Can you believe it's been 30 years since that finale? So
we all have that one show that just feels like a warm hug, right? For a lot of us, Cheers is exactly that. But what if I told you that some of the funniest, most hilarious moments from Cheers never even made it into the actual episodes? That's right, the real gems, the bloopers.
Excuse me, where is your bathroom?
Next to my bedroom.
And today, my friend, we're diving headfirst into the stuff you were never supposed to see. Some of these clips are so funny, you'll genuinely wonder how the cast managed to film anything without bursting into laughter. Get comfy as we get started. Come along. Number 13. Ted Dansen blanks out mid-scene. Few actors embodied their characters quite like Ted Dansen did with Sam Malone on Cheers. In the top Cheers Bloopers compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers, one particular moment stands out among fans and cast members alike, when the normally flawless Dansen completely blanked during a pivotal scene. During a particularly complex scene in the bar, where Sam was meant to deliver a lengthy monologue about his relationship struggles, cameras were rolling, and everything appeared to be going smoothly. The set was prepared perfectly, and the cast was positioned strategically around the bar for what should have been a routine take. Dansen, known for his remarkable ability to memorize lines, rarely needed multiple takes to nail a scene. The pressure was especially high that day, as the episode was running behind schedule, and the director had emphasized the importance of getting through Sam's emotional revelation efficiently. Furthermore, the scene required precise timing, as Dansen needed to hit specific emotional beats while maintaining the character's trademark charm. What went wrong with Ted Dansen? As the cameras rolled and Ted began the scene, something unusual happened. His mind went completely blank mid-sentence. This was particularly notable because Dansen was widely regarded as one of the most reliable actors on set, with an almost mechanical precision when it came to remembering his lines. According to industry stories, throughout his acting career, moments where Dansen forgot lines were exceedingly rare. In fact, years later, during his work on the HBO comedy series Bored to Death, show creator Jonathan Ames noted that when Dansen once forgot his lines, it was the first time in the show's history this had happened, describing the actor as a machine when it came to performance reliability. This reputation for consistency made the Cheers blooper all the more memorable when Dansen simply stopped, looked around, and admitted with his characteristic smile, "I have absolutely no idea what comes next." What was the cast reaction to Ted's blank? The cast's reaction to Dansen's memory lapse made this blooper truly special. Instead of breaking character immediately, Ria Pearlmans, Carla, attempted to save the scene by improvising a line that might jog his memory. George Wendt, Norm, nearly spit out his beer from laughing, while John Ratzenberger, Cliff, began spouting made-up facts about memory loss to fill the awkward silence. Shelley Longs, playing Dians, tried to whisper his line to him, but in doing so, completely broke character herself with a fit of giggles. What made this Cheers Bloopers compilation moment especially endearing was how quickly the professional cast turned the mistake into an opportunity for genuine laughter. Could the Cheers cast be any worse at keeping a straight face? Probably not, and that's exactly why this blooper compilation is pure comedy gold. From forgotten lines to accidental props, fails. This is the side of Cheers that only the crew got to see. Stick around till the end. It only gets funnier as they try harder not to laugh. Number 12. Nicholas Klesanto forgets his only line. Nicholas Klesanto's portrayal of Coach Ernie Pantuso remains one of the most beloved performances in sitcom history. Throughout the filming of Cheers, his bloopers stood out not for their frequency, but for their poignant nature, particularly as his health declined. Now, how did the blooper scene come to being? During the third season of Cheers, A seemingly simple scene required Coach to answer the bar phone with his signature greeting, followed by just a few lines of dialogue. The scene was designed to showcase Coach's endearing confusion, a hallmark of the character that had made him a fan favorite. Director James Burrows, who regarded Klesanto as like a father, on stage and off, had positioned the veteran actor behind the bar for what should have been a straightforward take. What went wrong with Nicholas? By this point in production, Klesanto's health had seriously deteriorated, although he kept the severity of his condition private from many cast members. Despite his professional dedication, his struggle with heart disease, which had afflicted him since the mid-1970s, made remembering even simple lines increasingly difficult. In this particular blooper, when the phone rang, Klesanto answered with "Cheers!" but then paused, visibly searching for his next line. After several moments of silence, he simply looked at the crew and whispered, "Holy mackerel, I've got nothing." The line he couldn't recall was ironically about forgetting something else, that he'd left duplicate keys behind the bar. Notably, this wasn't an isolated incident. Ted Dansen later revealed that Klesanto had difficulty remembering his lines throughout the third season's production. Shortly after Christmas, 1984, Klesanto was hospitalized for 2 weeks with water in his lungs, further hampering his ability to perform. Rather than showing frustration, the cast responded with remarkable compassion. Shelley Longs gently tried to feed him the line, while Ria Pearlmans moved closer to provide moral support. The blooper, though funny at first glance, took on a more emotional tone as the cast recognized the underlying health challenges their colleague faced. Despite the mistake, filming continued with adjustments made to accommodate Klesanto's condition. Cheerio Cheers, filmed in late November 1984, would ultimately be his last full episode, making these bloopers particularly meaningful to fans of funny Cheers bloopers who understand their context. Number 11. Shelley Longs' gibberish moment. Shelley Longs' portrayal of the intellectual yet often flustered Diane Chambers provided numerous memorable moments throughout her tenure on Cheers. Among the top Cheers Bloopers compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers, one incident stands out for its sheer unpredictability and comedic value. During filming of a Season 2 episode, Long was tasked with delivering one of Diane's characteristically verbose monologues, a scholarly defense of classical literature aimed at the bar's less academically inclined patrons. The scene required precise timing, as she needed to maintain Diane's signature haughty demeanor while engaging with multiple cast members scattered around the bar. The script called for an elaborate speech filled with literary references and multisyllabic words that would ultimately lead to a punchline from Carla. The production team had already completed several takes due to minor technical issues, and Long had performed flawlessly each time. However, the director requested one final take to capture a slightly different camera angle, requiring Long to repeat her complex monologue yet again after nearly 2 hours of filming the same scene. As Long began her final take, something unexpected happened. Midway through Diane's scholarly speech, she suddenly transitioned from perfectly articulated vocabulary into complete gibberish. Without breaking character or stopping, Long continued gesturing emphatically while producing a stream of nonsensical sounds that vaguely resembled the cadence and intonation of her actual lines. What made this blooper particularly remarkable was how Long maintained Diane's precise mannerisms, facial expressions, and body language throughout the gibberish, as if her character was still making perfect sense. For nearly 20 seconds, she continued this impromptu linguistic meltdown before finally bursting into laughter. Initially, the cast appeared genuinely confused, unsure whether this was an intentional improvisation or a genuine mistake. Ted Dansen, ever the professional, attempted to stay in character as Sam, nodding thoughtfully as if understanding every nonsensical syllable. Conversely, George Wendt, Norm, and John Ratzenberger, Cliff, exchanged bewildered glances before succumbing to uncontrollable laughter. Ria Pearlmans, poised to deliver Carla's cutting response, completely lost her composure, doubling over behind the bar. The entire set erupted in laughter, with even crew members visible in the blooper footage, wiping away tears. Subsequently, this moment became a favorite reference point among the cast, with Dansen occasionally mimicking Longs' gibberish during later season blooper reels, solidifying its place in the funny Cheers Bloopers Hall of Fame. Number 10. Ria Pearlmans' adorable line flub. Among the characters at Cheers, Ria Pearlmans' quick-witted, sharp-tongued Carla Tortelli rarely missed a beat when delivering caustic one-liners. Ironically, one of the most endearing moments in top Cheers Bloopers Compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers, came when this normally razor-sharp character completely fumbled her lines. The scene was set during a fourth-season episode where Carla needed to deliver a particularly scathing insult to a pretentious customer who had been complaining about the bar's selection of wines. The dialogue required perfect timing, as Carla had to interrupt a conversation between Sam and the customer with a rapid-fire series of insults, culminating in a memorable punchline. The director had emphasized that Pearlman needed to maintain Carla's characteristic intensity throughout the exchange. Moreover, the scene required multiple camera angles to capture reactions from both the customer and the other regulars seated nearby. After several successful rehearsals, everyone expected a smooth final take. What went wrong with Ria? As filming began, everything proceeded perfectly until Pearlman reached the crucial punchline. Instead of delivering Carla's perfectly crafted insult, she suddenly mixed up several words, creating an unintentional tongue twister that made absolutely no sense. Unlike her character's typically flawless verbal assaults, Pearlman stumbled over syllables, transposed words, and ultimately created what sounded like an entirely new language. What made this blooper particularly charming was Pearlman's immediate reaction. Rather than becoming frustrated, she broke into a fit of giggles that completely contrasted with Carla's perpetually annoyed demeanor. The petite actress then attempted 3 more times to deliver the line correctly, each attempt worse than the previous one. Number 9. The crown that wouldn't stay on. Props often played crucial roles in the Cheers set, sometimes becoming unexpected stars in top Cheers Bloopers Compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers. One particularly memorable prop failure involved a royal accessory that seemed determined to steal the spotlight. The episode required Diane to orchestrate a mock coronation ceremony for Sam after he won a local bartending competition. The script called for her to place an elaborate costume crown on his head during a grandiose speech about his reign over Boston's bar scene. Likewise, the scene demanded perfect timing, as the crown placement needed to coincide with cheers from the bar patrons. Behind the scenes, the prop department had created a deliberately gaudy crown, adorned with plastic gems and gold paint. Beforehand, they had tested the crown multiple times to ensure it would fit Ted Dansen's head properly. Furthermore, the director had choreographed the scene meticulously, with Shelley Longs practicing the crown placement during rehearsals without any issues. As filming commenced and Diane reached the climactic moment of her speech, she dramatically placed the crown on Sam's head, only for it to immediately slide forward, covering his eyes completely. Consequently, Dansen, temporarily blinded, stumbled backward into the bar shelving, nearly knocking over several bottles. Upon readjusting the crown, Long discovered the interior band had somehow expanded between rehearsal and filming. Yet each time she attempted to reposition it, the crown either slipped sideways or tipped backward off Dansen's head entirely. After 3 consecutive attempts, the crown seemed to develop a mind of its own, refusing to stay in place, regardless of how carefully it was positioned. The cast's attempts to maintain composure quickly dissolved into chaos. Hence, what began as subtle corpsing evolved into full-blown laughter. George Wendt, Norm, remained stoically in character longest before a particularly dramatic crown fall caused him to spray beer through his nose. Ria Pearlmans seized the comedic opportunity, improvising increasingly sarcastic suggestions about using glue or staples on Dansen's head. Think Cheers was funny? You haven't seen anything yet. These bloopers show the cast at their silliest, sloppiest, and most lovable. So don't blink, and definitely don't click away. The biggest laugh is waiting right at the end. Number 8. The belt that refused to budge. Wardrobe malfunctions created some of the most memorable moments in Cheers Bloopers Compilation. Funny Cheers bloopers. One incident that continues to entertain fans decades later involves Shelley Longs and an uncooperative costume piece that refused to cooperate during filming. In a scene requiring Diane to make a dramatic statement, the wardrobe department had outfitted Shelley Longs in an elaborate costume that included a decorative belt as a key component. The belt featured an intricate clasp designed to be unfastened at a specific moment for comedic effect. Throughout rehearsals, the prop functioned perfectly, giving no indication of the chaos it would soon cause. The director had positioned Longs center stage, with other cast members strategically placed to react to her character's revelation. What went wrong with the belt? As cameras rolled and the pivotal moment arrived, Longs reached for the belt clasp, only to find it completely stuck. After that initial failed attempt, she tried again with increasing desperation, struggling to maintain her character's composure. Analogous to other prop failures on set, what should have been a simple action turned into an extended battle between actor and accessory. The belt, seemingly with a mind of its own, refused to budge despite Longs' increasingly forceful tugs. Initially, the other actors maintained their professional composure, subtly glancing at each other as Longs' struggle continued. Nonetheless, as the situation escalated from minor difficulty to full-blown wardrobe rebellion, their restraint crumbled. Ted Dansen was first to break, followed closely by wouldnt, whose signature deadpan finally dissolved into uncontrollable laughter. Even the typically composed John Ratzenberger couldn't contain himself, turning away from cameras in a failed attempt to hide his amusement. The director finally called "cut" after nearly 30 seconds of belt warfare, making this moment a standout in top Cheers Bloopers Compilation. Funny Cheers bloopers. Number 7. The Cheese Bowl Disaster. During filming of a Season 5 episode, the script called for an elaborate spread of bar snacks to feature prominently in a scene where Cliff was hosting an impromptu gathering of his postal worker colleagues. The set designers had prepared a lavish display, including a particularly large crystal bowl filled with cheese balls positioned precariously at the edge of the bar. Previously, the food props had been secured to prevent accidents. Yet somehow, this particular bowl had been overlooked. The director had asked wouldnt and John Ratzenberger to engage in an animated conversation near the display, with Ratzenberger meant to gesture enthusiastically without disturbing the carefully arranged food items. What went wrong with the cheese bowl? As filming commenced, Ratzenberger launched into one of Cliff's characteristic know-it-all monologues about the history of postal uniforms. Simultaneously, he began gesturing wildly as scripted. Unfortunately, his hand movement was slightly more expansive than during rehearsals. His elbow connected with the cheese bowl, sending it airborne in spectacular fashion. Curiously, instead of immediately crashing to the floor, the bowl seemed to hover momentarily before unleashing its contents. Bright orange cheese balls rained down across the set, covering the bar, floor, and several cast members in a shocking display of unplanned special effects. Initially, everyone froze in stunned silence as cheese balls continued to roll in every direction. Naturally, Ted Dansen broke first, doubling over behind the bar. Kirstie Alley, relatively new to the cast at this point, maintained her composure longest before succumbing to the absurdity. Ria Pearlmans, covered in orange dust, improvised by sampling one from her shoulder, declaring them better than the usual bar nuts. Ratzenberger himself stood mortified until wouldnt began methodically eating the scattered snacks off the bar surface, essentially turning the disaster into an impromptu comedy routine that the director seriously considered keeping in the final edit. Number 6. Ted forgets his line again. Following his first notorious memory lapse, Dansen had become even more meticulous about memorizing his lines. For this particular scene, Sam needed to deliver an emotional speech to Rebecca during a pivotal character development moment. Correspondingly, the set was arranged for an intimate exchange, with minimal cast present to maintain the scene's intensity. The director had requested several takes already, not because of line issues, but to capture subtle emotional nuances between the characters. As cameras rolled for what everyone hoped would be the final take, Dansen started strong, delivering his lines with Sam's characteristic charm. Approximately halfway through the emotional monologue, albeit, his expression suddenly shifted from confidence to confusion. Generally, such moments might be quickly recovered, yet Dansen appeared genuinely lost. Upon realizing he had blanked again, Dansen straight away broke character and exclaimed, "I swear I knew this 5 seconds ago." What made this blooper distinctly different from his previous memory lapse was his immediate self-awareness. He pointed at his head and started laughing at himself before anyone else could react. The irony of Dansen experiencing another memory lapse prompted unique reactions from fellow cast members. Kirstie Alley, namely, attempted to maintain composure longer than anyone else, yet ultimately surrendered to laughter that was so intense she reportedly cried, much like Dansen would years later on another set. This unplanned moment showcased the genuine camaraderie among cast members, as everyone recognized the humor in television's most reliable bartender forgetting his words not once, but twice. What do you get when a legendary sitcom cast can't stop cracking up? Absolute gold! The Cheers crew made millions laugh, but wait till you see them trying not to. If you've ever laughed at something you weren't supposed to, yeah, this is for you. Stick with us till the end, because the last blooper might be the best mistake in sitcom history. Number 5. The blooper that made the final cut. Unlike typical bloopers edited out of final broadcasts, certain unexpected moments in Cheers earned a permanent place in television history. These rare instances where mistakes became features rather than flaws represent some of the most authentic moments in the show's run. In a memorable episode from Cheers' run, Sam enters the bar sporting a bloody nose, an unusual sight that immediately grabbed viewer attention. The scene was originally scripted as a standard entrance, with Sam returning after an off-screen encounter. Coincidentally, Ted Dansen had been involved in a real-life car accident the night before filming. The next thing I knew, I accidentally plowed into the car in front of me. My face went straight into the steering wheel, Dansen explained in a later interview. The injury, while not serious, left visible evidence that would normally require postponing filming or creative camera angles to hide. Instead, the production team made an unexpected decision that would become part of Cheers' lore. Remarkably, Dansen's nose continued bleeding slightly when he arrived on set after being examined and cleared to work. Rather than delaying production, the creative team incorporated the injury into the episode, adjusting the script to reference a fictional fight that Sam had supposedly been involved in off-screen. This wasn't the only instance where reality shaped the show. Interestingly, the iconic main door of the bar, through which countless characters made memorable entrances, violated actual fire safety codes. Real-life establishments require exit doors to open outward for quick evacuation, but Cheers' door deliberately opened inward to enhance dramatic entrances and comedic timing. Why did it stay in the episode? The bloody nose scene ultimately remained because it created an authentic moment that enhanced rather than detracted from the storytelling. Furthermore, it reflected the show's practical approach to production challenges, turning unexpected circumstances into opportunities for character development. The production team recognized that viewers connected with these genuine moments. Indeed, another famous instance occurred during a guest appearance by then Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill, when Norm unwittingly insulted him before realizing who he was talking to. O'Neill's natural response, "You said it, not me," captured an authenticity that scripted lines rarely achieve. These unplanned elements became fan favorites precisely because they blended the line between fiction and reality, creating moments of genuine surprise within carefully crafted episodes. Number 4. Dian's dramatic exit fail. Shelley Longs' character, Dian Chambers, was renowned for her theatrical tendencies and dramatic flair. One standout entry in Top Cheers Bloopers Compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers, perfectly captured both the character's melodramatic nature and the unpredictable reality of live television production. A pivotal scene required Dian to make a grand exit from the bar, following a heated argument with Sam. Typically, these dramatic moments were Dian's specialty, as she often used theatrical departures to punctuate emotional exchanges. For this particular scene, the director had choreographed an elaborate exit where Dian would deliver a withering final line, turn dramatically, and stride purposefully toward the famous Cheers door. The timing was crucial, as the camera would follow her exit while capturing reaction shots from the other characters, particularly Sam's exasperated expression. What went wrong with the exit? As filming began, Long delivered her parting shot perfectly and executed a flawless dramatic turn. Unfortunately, as she reached the door and pulled it with her customary flourish, the door refused to open. Thereafter, rather than breaking character, Long tugged harder while maintaining Dian's dignified expression. The door, apparently stuck on its hinges, remained firmly closed despite increasingly desperate pulls. After several uncomfortable seconds, Long finally abandoned dignity altogether and yanked with both hands, causing the suddenly freed door to swing open violently and bounce back, hitting her squarely as she attempted to exit. The unplanned physical comedy transformed the scene instantly. Surprisingly, Ted Dansen maintained his composure longest, attempting to stay in character until Long's perfectly timed recovery. Upon being struck by the rebellious door, she spun back into the bar, stumbled slightly, and then improvised brilliantly by declaring, "And furthermore," as if the return had been intentional all along. This unexpected ad-lib broke Dansen completely, triggering a chain reaction of laughter throughout the set. Of course, George Wendt seized the comedic opportunity, raising his beer mug in silent toast to the failed exit, thereby creating one of the most memorable Cheers bloopers that cast members referenced for years afterward. Number 3. Norm's milk-bone underwear line. George Wendt's portrayal of beer-loving accountant Norm Peterson created some of the most quotable moments in television history. Throughout Cheers' run, his perfectly timed one-liners and deadpan delivery ranked high in Top Cheers Bloopers Compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers, with one particularly memorable line about canine treats standing out. During a 6th season episode, the script called for Norm to deliver a witty comeback when Cliff inquired about his weekend plans. The scene required precise timing, as Norm needed to finish his beer, place it on the bar, and deliver the punchline without breaking his characteristic deadpan expression. Specifically, the writers had crafted a particularly absurd line comparing his uncomfortable underwear situation to dog treats, a line designed to showcase Norm's matter-of-fact approach to life's indignities. The set was arranged with Norm in his usual seat at the bar's corner, surrounded by regulars who would react to his quip. Comparatively, this scene appeared straightforward compared to other complex sequences, requiring minimal movement and just one camera angle to capture the delivery and reactions. What went wrong or right? As filming began, everything proceeded normally until Wendt reached the punchline. Typically, he delivered his lines with mechanical precision, yet this time he paused slightly before stating that his underwear was riding up so high I could use a couple of milk bones. Upon completing the line, Wendt's expression shifted subtly, not breaking character entirely, but struggling to maintain Norm's characteristic indifference. The cast's response transformed a good line into cheers blooper gold. Ted Dansen visibly bit his lip while pretending to wipe down the bar. John Ratzenberger turned away completely, his shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. Ria Pearlmans strategically dropped below the bar to hide her reaction. Fortunately, Woody Harrelson rescued the moment by responding with completely straight-faced concern, asking if Norm wanted him to call a doctor, an improvised line that nearly made it into the final cut before editors determined the genuine laughter couldn't be adequately disguised. Number 2. Cliff's Jeopardy Meltdown. In a beloved episode from Season 8, the script called for Cliff to fulfill his lifelong dream of appearing on Jeopardy. Typically, Ratzenberger's character spouted dubious facts with unwavering confidence, making this game show scenario perfect for comedic potential. The set designers had meticulously recreated the Jeopardy stage within the Cheers studio, complete with authentic-looking contestant podiums and a Alex Trebek impersonator. During rehearsals, Ratzenberger practiced delivering increasingly absurd answers with his characteristic know-it-all certainty, each response more ridiculous than the last. What went wrong on Jeopardy? As filming began, everything proceeded according to plan until the final Jeopardy segment. In reality, Ratzenberger was supposed to deliver his infamous wrong answer: "Who are 3 people who have never been in my kitchen?" Зрение совершенной безразличной серьезностью. Unfortunately, halfway through his delivery, he suddenly broke character, apparently struck by the absurdity of his own line. Ratzenberger attempted to recover by improvising additional wrong answers, each more nonsensical than the last, completely abandoning the script in a genuine moment of uncontrollable laughter. Number 1. Rebecca's Cigarette Slip. Kirstie Alley's portrayal of the neurotic bar manager Rebecca Howe provided countless comedic moments throughout her tenure on Cheers. Among these, one cigarette-related incident earned a special place in Top Cheers Bloopers Compilation, Funny Cheers Bloopers History, for its perfect blend of physical comedy and genuine cast reactions. During Season 7 filming, a scene required Rebecca to nervously light a cigarette while discussing her complicated relationship with her boss. The script called for her to appear outwardly composed while subtly revealing her anxiety through a cigarette ritual. Behind the scenes, the prop department had prepared several identical cigarettes and lighters to ensure consistency across multiple takes. Typically, smoking scenes were carefully choreographed to minimize actual smoke inhalation while maximizing comedic potential. For this particular shot, the director positioned Alley center stage, with Ted Dansen nearby to react to her increasingly frantic behavior. What went wrong with the cigarette? As cameras rolled, Alley masterfully portrayed Rebecca's nervous energy, hands slightly shaking as she attempted to light the cigarette. Unexpectedly, when she finally got it lit, a sudden gust from a nearby air conditioning vent caused the cigarette to flare dramatically. Simultaneously, Alley gasped in surprise, accidentally inhaling far more smoke than intended. This triggered an immediate coughing fit that sent sparks flying as she struggled to maintain her composure. Ultimately, the cigarette slipped from her fingers, bounced across the bar, and landed in a glass of water with a satisfying hiss. Initially, Ted Dansen attempted to stay in character, reaching across to help with the apparent emergency. Unfortunately, his professional demeanor crumbled as Alley's perfectly timed "I meant to do that" through tears of coughing sent him into uncontrollable laughter. Practically everyone on set broke character. John Ratzenberger doubled over completely, while George Wendt merely raised his eyebrows in his characteristic understated reaction. Distinctly, Ria Pearlmans maintained her composure longest before finally joining the collective hilarity that delayed filming for nearly 15 minutes. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.